Clash of the Classics.
Hey, that's right, everyone. It's time for Clash of the Classics. We're going to have some fun today. In fact, you know, Chris, each and every time we get together and do these Clash battles, it's a blast because we get to go down memory lane. We get to kind of reminisce about old times. Well, not so much for you because it's these are new times for you, aren't they?
Unfortunately, yes.
But anyway, you know, I have a fun time with this, and this is going to be a great time because it's 1952. That's the year we're going back to. It's all about the 1952 Chevy Sedan Deluxe battling the 1952 Packard 300. Not really much of a contest here, but I don't want to tip my hat which one I like, but I'll start with the Chevrolet. In 1949, just after the war, all the Chevys, in fact, everything from General Motors got new styling. The Deluxe was the brand new upper end model for Chevrolet. This thing was selling very well. The cheapest Deluxe that you could buy back then was the 6-passenger sedan, and it ran about $1,500, right about in that neighborhood. It had 11-inch drum brakes all the way around, so stopping wasn't a problem. Heck no. The instrumentation was full dash layout style, and then the interior is one of the most comfortable of the time period. Chevy offered it with two engine options. It was the 216 Thriftmaster engine. It was good for about 92 horsepower. And then they had the 235 straight six Blue Flame series. I remember the first time I ever saw that engine is with my dad in my dad's place way back in, it was probably 1971 or 1972, somewhere in that neighborhood. Pretty cool engine. One barrel, it was kicking out about 105 horsepower. And in the early days, 50 and 51, both engines were prone to vapor lock because the factory routing of the fuel line, it was too close to the exhaust, and over time the fuel would boil in the line and create a vapor lock. But the rear main bearing rope seals were also prone to leaks, and it was about that time that Chevy adopted the buy a Chevy and get a leak for free slogan. But 1952, dude, I kind of liked everything that came out in the early 50s. Of course, 55, 6, and 7 are, you know, the Tri-5 years, and those are the years that most people will relate to when it comes to 50s. But I like the 52 styling. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, 52 had a lot of great things to offer. I'm really enjoying all this.
I like it. But the transmission options were the 3-speed manual, the all-new, and at the time, cast iron Power Glide automatic. 1952 was the last year for the Deluxe, and this thing got a heaping share of revisions, like an updated tube-style AM radio, and then check this out for 1952, window tinting back then. And then one surprising statistic was Popular Mechanics rated the fuel economy at 20 miles per gallon at about 50 miles per hour. And that surprised me, especially for a car that weighs about 3,300 pounds empty and then powered by a 100 horsepower engine. That's a heck of an offset when you talk about, you know, almost 2-ton being powered by an engine that anymore a motorcycle engine now produces about that. So pretty interesting for those times.
Yeah, it seems like it'd take you all day to get down the street.
But I dug 52. I mean, it's a little before my time. In fact, I think that was even before the Beatles' time. But I like
definitely.
all of the styling on the early 50s models cars. I liked a bunch, especially these 52 Chevys.
Another fun fact about 52, going back to the music for all the guitar players out there, 1952 was the first year of the Les Paul guitar as we know it.
Ooh, since I didn't know that. And the Les Paul, that's one of my favorite guitars.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that one was it was the gold top with the P90s and the trapeze tailpiece.
When did the Les Paul guitar come out?
52.
Oh, 52. So
he started working on it in the late 40s at the Epiphone factory.
Is that what you just said? Because I thought you said that was the most memorable year for it.
Well, that's when it came out.
Oh, I see. Yeah, good stuff. And in fact, anybody out there who's ever played a guitar, you check out a Les Paul or even a Les Paul copy. Those are probably really well balanced. I'm not much of a guitarist anymore. I used to play a lot more than I do today, but nice guitars. But the average price for this 52 Chevy was about $1,700. Today, these cars can be worth somewhere near $20,000 or more, depending on the shape. I like everything in 52 for a $20,000 ride. If you want to get into the classic car world, this is obviously an easy way to get in, easy in terms of on the wallet, and still have a cool ride that you can be proud of at these car shows, not only here in Southern California, but all around the country.
I got to say, too, I'm looking at this flat black one right now on Google Image, and I really want that one in flat black.
Oh, before I go any further, if you've got an automatic transmission concern, you even think you have a transmission problem, our Clash of the Classics is made possible each and every week by the largest automatic transmission network in the world. They are the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association, quite simply the ATRA. Check them out, ATRA.com, the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association. All right, let's head over to that 1952 Packard 300. Now this, I don't know that there's a car out there, Chris, that I like better, especially in the early 50s models. I have a lot of experience with the 51 and the 52 Packards. This model 300, awesome, sold in 51 and 52 only, and it was the mid-range model. It was only available as a four-door on a whopping 127-inch wheelbase. This was the epitome of a rolling boat. I mean, this was the land yacht that people used to clown about. It was a cruiser for sure. Tinted windows, full wheel covers, custom interior were unique, but not as unique as the robe rail for the back seat. They actually had a rail that went across side to side that you could put a drape up, kind of like you do in a limousine where they have the partition, the privacy partition. That's how big this car was. The only engine was the 327 Super 8 Thunderbolt inline 8-cylinder. It's kicking out about 180 horsepower, and the transmissions were the 3-speed manual or the 2-speed Ultramatic. And that 2-speed Ultramatic, I really liked it. There were some issues back in the early 50s with the throttle bodies, and a lot of people who may have owned these cars, of all of our older listeners or our older viewers who may have personal experience with this car, may have unfavorable experiences with the automatic trans, but there were some revisions that Packard offered back in those days to straighten it out. And if you were fortunate enough to have that done, man, what a cool ride. I've built a few of these Ultramatic units. It amazes me how cool they were. But and the other thing that's interesting is when you look at the design, so intricate, so complex, especially for early 50s, when complexities in technology necessarily hadn't evolved where it is anywhere near to today. But pretty cool. I really like not only the car, the look of the car, but also the way it drove.
Yeah, they're very similar. And real quick, one more time, what did you say the horsepower was?
180.
Okay, so that's a pretty good increase off the Chevy.
Yeah, it's between the 52 Chevy, the Deluxe, and what we're talking about with the Packard. Obviously, there is a bit of a difference here. There's a bit of a margin between the two. But man, this Thunderbolt inline 8-cylinder, this was one heck of a cool car. I liked everything about this Packard. I really wish that Packard would have been able to continue, would have been able to move on and still be kicking out cars today. It's amazing to me when I think about what they could have been building. One of the biggest mistakes that I think that the automotive industry made was not bailing out Packard back in those days. I remember Studebaker and Packard got together, but it just didn't work out. Unfortunately, what a bummer, because this thing, definitely one of my favorite cars. Interior was well laid out, was about as comfortable as a car can get. In fact, Packard actually outsold Cadillac up until about 1950, and then by the end of World War II, Packard was in excellent financial condition because of their involvement in producing some of the combat engines, but that's another story for another day. But a series of mistakes and management mistakes is what cost Packard, and regrettably and then there's another mistake, they didn't pursue a luxury line, which they should have done. But original MSRP back in those days, $3,100. Today this car is worth about $22,000 on the entry level, but I mean they can go anywhere from there. I've seen them upwards of $60,000 depending on how nice the car is. But between these two cars, and you've seen them both, which one do you like?
Okay, so the Packard's got a bit more HP kicking out.
Yes, it does.
And they're about the same value today. You said the Chevy was about $20,000. This is $22,000.
Mm-hmm.
All that being said, I'm going Chevy.
Are you going Chevy?
Yeah.
All right, well, then we're going to need some help then. In fact, if you can go to our website or go to our YouTube channel, let us know which car you like. Because I like this Packard. And the reason why is because I have personal experience with it and quite a bit, especially in the automatic transmission area. But I like the car. It's a ton of fun. I'm rolling Packard. Chris is rolling Chevrolet. Let us know which car you like best. Again, these battles made possible by the Automatic Transmission Rebuilders Association. Thanks so much for tuning in. That's just about all the time we have. We'll see you next week.